Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're listening to Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
So, on today's episode of Eating W's, I want to start with a little update that my cold is gone, but I got something nasty going on with my throat. I'm going to the doctor today.
That's my guess.
It does kind of feel like tonsillitis, so hopefully I have a little more energy this episode, but it's going to be much less talking than I usually do. Because I could tell even towards the end of last week that my voice was barely making it. But past that, we'll just jump right into our NFL Week 16 recap. So first up, we had the Thursday night game with the 49ers going to Tennessee to take on the Titans. And the Titans pulling off a pretty big victory in what I would say. I mean, it was close all game, and it seemed like the Titans didn't have exactly what it took to beat a team like the Niners in the beginning, but then they came charging back towards the end, really flipped at halftime.
Yeah, it almost seemed like that was almost the best game all week in terms of just competition.
That was a pretty good game.
Yeah,
really
the back and forth and no real sloppy football. Jimmy Garoppolo hurt his hand, so he hurt his hand in that game.
I believe so.
He sprained his thumb and tore the UCL.
Yeah, just a thumb
muscle
ligament somewhere.
Ligament, yeah, I don't know. But apparently it's really painful. So it sounds like Trey Lance because it's going to be starting.
Yeah, which, I mean, luckily for them, they're kind of like the 2017 Vikings where they can throw anybody in at quarterback and they just have a good defense and so many weapons on that team that I think anybody's going to be able to do well. I don't think Lance will do as well as Jimmy G by any means because I give him a lot of crap and he played like crap in that game. I mean, I've been saying that Jimmy G is a bad quarterback, and he proved it in that game. In my opinion, he did not look good at all. But
he didn't have a thumb.
Well, how early did he do that, though? Because, I mean, he didn't really play well.
That's true.
All game.
I don't know when it happened or, so.
But I think Lance will still be able to fill in enough. He'll bring a whole new dynamic dimension to that offense.
It'll definitely be a different ran offense, so it'll be interesting to see next week.
Overall, that was a great game, and the Titans pick up a really good win. Next up, we had our Christmas game, starting with the Browns heading to Green Bay to take on the Packers, and the Packers picking up a win in a surprisingly close game.
Well, score was closer than it looked. It was, 24-15, and Devontae had an open pass that he dropped. 2015 Devontae showed up for a little bit of this game, and though Aaron did break the touchdown record, and that was really cool. Nice throw to Lazard. He did also break the connection record of he has more touchdowns. Rodgers and Adams have more touchdowns than Rodgers and Jordy now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
so
that's cool.
Yeah, so he threw that one after throwing his record breaker first.
That's
so
funny.
Rodgers threw the record breaker to Lazard, and then threw the record breaker to Adams to get Devontae his record. So it's like everybody got a little bit of the record there.
Just freaking piling up the records.
I'd like to say thank you to Baker Mayfield, because without his 4 interceptions, we probably lose that game. If they just keep handing the ball to Nick Chubb, we probably lose that game.
Yeah.
So because of those things, the Packers won, and I'm grateful for that.
This is kind of uncharted territory to say for a Packers team, but in my opinion, the offense didn't play like crap by any means, but they did not play well. No. You guys got carried to win by that
Almost
defense.
all of our points except 3 were off those turnovers.
I mean, 4 total turnovers, 3 throughout the game, and your offense was only able to get 24 points off of 3 turnovers. I mean, you gotta do more than that. I feel like
all 3 of those turnovers did result in the touchdowns.
Yeah, so you only had like 3 points.
We did capitalize on the turnovers, but we never really got running as an offense. We just capitalized is all. Yeah. Which I do hope and think that they'll fix. I don't know, maybe, with the holiday, maybe they just things were going on in the personal life. But
and I mean, maybe this is the biased Vikings fan in me, but if you ask me, that's a blatant holding on that last pick on Rasul.
Rasul with two picks in the game, and no, he didn't have a pick 6. That was last.
Yeah,
week.
but the closer.
But he did have the game-saving interception.
And I mean,
it wasn't real close.
It wasn't like a brutal holding, like he tackled him or anything.
I was
I'm just saying,
starting to sweat there a little bit, you know.
Exactly.
That was close.
I'm just saying it was a blatant missed call, because if you compare that to pretty much any other game this season, 9 out of 10 to 10 out of 10 times.
You could tell that he grabbed. You could tell there was pulling on the jersey. And even as a Packers fan, I'm just saying 9 times out of 10 in that situation they call it. In fact, I think you even said that the next game, the
Colts-Cardinals game,
this exact same situation happened, and they called a penalty on it.
Yeah, there was either a strip sack on Wentz or Kyler, I can't remember which one it was, but it got overturned by a holding that wasn't much worse, if worse at all, than the Packers one.
So it was a judgment call, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Refs wanted to go home and open presents.
But overall, I'll digress. It was a good game by the Packers, and they picked up.
Very entertaining, at the least.
Speaking of the Colts-Cardinals, the second Christmas game last week was the Colts heading to Arizona to take on the Cardinals, and the Colts pick up another good win. Just a hard-fought victory. This Colts team might be scary, man. It really is. I've been talking about them a little bit throughout the season. I really like the Wentz signing. I did not guess the Jonathan Taylor breakout thing, but man, has it been fun to watch.
I knew he was good. I didn't know he was going to be MVP good.
If this team sneaks into that 6 or 7 seed, like I very much think they will, they're going to be an underdog in that AFC playoff race.
The Colts
are a scary
team.
One
of the teams I fear the most as a team to face in the Super Bowl, presuming that the Packers make it because of that.
I was going to say, you're already thinking about Super Bowl
matchups? Because of that running game. Well, I'm just... we were talking about it earlier. Like, I think you asked what team did I not want to face or something. And
no, I pretty much said that. I said if you guys do make it to the Super Bowl and it's against the Colts, you're screwed. It's over.
I don't want to see the Colts there. I don't with our run defense. But yeah, and the Colts had like 8 offensive linemen missing. So that's great in itself.
Braden Smith was their only starting offensive
and they
lineman,
had
their right
one
tackle.
Or two of the backups get hurt during the game.
They were down to their 3rd string left guard.
I was like, man, they're going to start playing defensive linemen and on the O-line because you got to get somebody big bodied up there. I mean, throw the long snapper in there. Hell
yeah, let's get the long snapper in there.
On the O-line. But yeah, very good game by the Colts. Arizona seems to kind of be falling a little bit. I think the injuries are catching up to them. And, Kingsbury, this is kind of uncharted territory for him, having a successful season. So we'll see how he handles the success.
Yeah.
And, maybe it's just one of those teams where they're good, but since they're new to being good, kind of like the Bengals earlier where they got beat by the Jets. It's like, okay, you're good, but
you're still developing.
You're still developing. You're new to this being one of the elite teams party. But
yeah, the Cardinals... To segue into the next game, the Cardinals really better watch out for that team that's behind them in their division, the Rams. Last week, the Rams went to Minnesota and picked up a win against the Vikings.
They probably
should not have, in my opinion. I mean, there's so many plays I could have named. There was that drop pick, easy pick by Cam Dantzler on a touchdown drive for the Rams. There was that punt return that I don't know how we didn't tackle that guy. We probably should have lit him up for a fumble with the fact that he didn't call it fair catch, but then he ends up taking it back for a punt return on us. But the big one, in my opinion, and again, just like I said back at the Packers one, this might just be some of that Vikings bias breaking through. But on that fumble by Cooper Kupp, I don't know how many of you watched the game, but there was a fumble where Cooper Kupp was still actively fighting forwards. He was just inching forward. It wasn't like he was plowing forward, but he was still actively moving forward. Dantzler rips the ball out right before Kupp steps out of bounds. Kupp steps out of bounds. The ball is out of his hands before he's out of bounds. Kendricks picks it up and has nothing but green grass ahead of him, and the refs whistle it dead and say his progress was stopped. And it just, in my opinion, it just wasn't. He wasn't out of bounds. He was still inching forward. He was actively fighting, stiff-arming Cam Dantzler, pushing forward. So I don't get how they call his progress stop. And then Zimmer tries to throw the challenge flag, but you can't challenge forward progress.
Judgment call.
But in my opinion, that's not what he was challenging. He was challenging if the ball was out before progress was stopped. So I don't know how that works with forward progress. I guess it counts
falls
towards
in the
it.
same category, yeah.
But in a 7-point game, they ended up scoring on that drive. So in a 7-point loss, that's a 14-point swing on one play, fully decided by the refs. I just hate seeing that. I feel like it's happened so many times this season, not just to the Vikings, but with teams all the way across the league. Not even just this season, but the last few seasons. So that's really my big thing. We could have played better. The Rams played well. I'll give it to them. The Vikings should have played better. Our offense needs to step their shit up. We have so many weapons on offense to be playing this poorly. I don't know if you guys remember or if you remember, but way back, like a couple weeks before the NFL season even started, I jokingly said on one of our podcasts,
Yeah.
Watch, now our defense will step up and be one of the best in the league, and our offense will totally shit out on us. And it's not quite there yet. I wouldn't say they shit out on us, but our offense has struggled more than anything.
Compared to last season.
Maybe it's Clint Kubiak. Maybe it's Zimmer putting Clint Kubiak on a leash. I think
it's more
Zimmer
over.
Because you can look back on some of those Packers games. That game against the Packers, we were running so much fun stuff, some screens, some motion, stuff like that, and I think that's what Kubiak wants to do, and Zimmer won't let him. So I hate to say it because I've kind of been the pro Zimmer train all year, but I don't know how we keep him after this season. Something's got to change. It just really does.
Wow.
I hate that we have to get rid of him. I like him, but something's got to change. We got to get an offensive-minded guy.
You know what I think?
Eric Bieniemy?
No. You know what I think you guys should do? Bring home Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin. I want a young guy. I know
Tomlin's kind of young.
I know Bieniemy isn't overly young, but
yeah, Tomlin's only like 40-something.
I didn't know that.
Young. He was young when he was hired by Pittsburgh.
I didn't know that.
When he was hired by Pittsburgh, he was the youngest head coach at the time.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that was like, I don't know, whatever. They're like 12 now, but you know, if you look at Kingsbury, Matt LaFleur, who was voted, Matt LaFleur, forgot to mention, is the hottest coach in the league. I don't know.
They're doing those votes now?
Yep, they are. Yep.
Yeah, I felt really desperate for clicks.
So, getting back to the Vikings game, you know what I say about that whole thing? Just score enough points where it doesn't come down to wait and depending on the refs.
Which is something our offense should very much be able to do, and just
unless you're the Packers and you've learned to master it and manipulate the refs.
I was gonna say master it. Master what? Having the refs on your side. Having the refs on your payroll.
Little Johnny Manziel for him.
No, but so now the Vikings have to win out. We need a couple of other things to happen just to even make the 7 seed.
Yeah.
It's not looking good. I'm not bad-mouthing the Rams because Stafford had a bad game and they still picked up a win, so that's a good team, but God, that game was annoying to watch. So, moving on, we got a divisional matchup with the Bills, who went to New England to take on the Patriots and picked up a revenge win after that crazy game in Foxborough.
So this one was much more balanced, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mac Jones threw it more than once.
Didn't play overly well from what I saw.
I
didn't get to see much of this game.
Really, since that game, I don't know. Maybe it kind of shook his confidence a little bit.
I don't see how it won it.
Like, wow, you don't even trust me to throw it more than two or three times, whatever he did. So I don't know.
I know it'd be a hit to my confidence.
Right? Yeah, a little bit.
Because you know he was in that huddle saying, "Coach,
yeah,
they're
and I get
playing the run. Let me throw it."
Game situation, all that jazz, but weather was crazy. But if you can't, I mean, they even asked Rodgers about it on the McAfee show. He's like, that's not necessary to throw it only 3 times. Like, what?
Especially in today's league. I mean, it's not 1970, 1960 anymore.
Good. I mean, I know that we've kind of been harsh on Mac, but he's better than some. Better than 3 throws a game. I don't know. That was definitely a Belichick game, and I think that was. But maybe it did affect Mac Jones.
I wouldn't be surprised. And I mean, the Bills really kind of returned to form, in my opinion.
They had
their
to get
defense had like 3 or 4 interceptions total.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense really showed up again. Josh Allen had over 300 passing yards and a few touchdowns.
And who the hell is Isaiah McKenzie?
Oh, Isaiah McKenzie's a beast,
Because,
dude. He was on their team last year. He's like their 4th receiver.
Yeah, I know.
Their
They
receiving
had a
core is
number of
just
them
that
out,
good.
but he just
Yeah.
came out of nowhere. He like tripled his receiving numbers in one game.
Literally.
For the season.
9 for 125,
But hey,
I
you know,
think.
he literally took that next man up mantra and embraced it. Took it and ran with it. I like to see it, you know?
No, I was really in on the Bills last year. I was watching a lot of them, and I thought McKenzie might be good. They got a good future there with McKenzie and Gabriel Davis.
That's a
Those
hell
guys
of
are
a
both
stash
good
they've
receivers.
had, but the secret's out now. So they better play him or something, because all it takes is one game, and those owners and GMs start licking their chops.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They'll take it on just one performance if it's dominant enough.
No, but great win by the Bills to get back into Foxborough and get that revenge game on. Next up, we got another AFC divisional matchup with the Broncos heading to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. The Raiders just sneaking out a win. I want to say it was somewhere in the ballpark of 17-13. And again, didn't get to watch much of this game, but from what I saw, it looked sloppy. It didn't look like either team really showed up to play.
I didn't see much of it either. I was watching a lot of that Chiefs game.
In today's NFL, 17-13 is kind of a sloppy game unless it's just a defensive shootout. Which it wasn't really, because, I mean, Drew Lock was playing, so Drew Lock continues to prove that he doesn't really know how to score points as the Broncos quarterback. But yeah, the Raiders did just enough to get past that Broncos offense and pick up a win.
And now the Raiders, if they win out, are in the playoffs.
Really?
And Denver looks like a team that, I don't know. They remind me, they're the Falcons of the AFC. There's some games they look like they're focused and all in, and other games they look just totally checked out and sloppy, and I don't know, can't get a good read on them.
If Denver can get not even an elite quarterback, but a true just game manager, superstar quarterback,
Mississippi Mudflap.
I like that, but they are a terrifying team if that happens. They have been plagued by game manager quarterbacks with poor play. That receiving core is absolutely beautiful, and they're all so young. I would like Minshew. There's a couple of guys, you look back to the draft when they had the chance to get Fields. I don't necessarily hate that they didn't pick Fields because I think they got a rising star in Pat Surtain as well, so that's kind of a pick your poison, or I guess pick your greatness, because I think Fields is going to be good, and I think
pick your
Surtain's...
potion.
Pick your potion, yeah, because I think both those players are going to be really good. But, God, if they get a quarterback, that's a scary team.
The Bomberman.
I would love for them to get Minshew. I think that'd be a great pickup for them. If Minshew can get some weapons,
Man, that
he's
dude
a scary
is such
man.
an entertaining quarterback. Like, man, that just feels like the average guy who just finally somehow got touched with some talent. And
He is a
like,
scary man with some weapons.
I know, right? Look how good he played with Philly.
I freaking love that. I never even, like, I just kind of fly by wire thought that up with the head, talking about their quarterback and their receivers.
Yeah.
But I love that idea. That is a great idea. The Broncos need to pursue Minshew this offseason.
Need him. They need the Mississippi
They need somebody,
Mudflap.
whether it's through the draft or
Yeah,
through him,
I think Teddy might be done.
he's too much of a game
Teddy
manager.
should probably just be done before he
dies. Yeah.
does end up like Kenny on the football field. I mean,
Next up, we had the Monday night game of the Dolphins heading to New Orleans to take on the Saints, and they pick up a overall pretty dominant win, I'd say. I mean, the Saints were really down on guys. They had Ian Book starting. I think they had maybe one or two guys on their defense, but I'm not positive on that, but I know for sure Book was starting. And man, that Dolphins defense is good. Flores can build up some blitzes. I love what he does with having a constant 8-man on the line and then just rotating, dropping them back and blitzing. I love the way he blitzes his secondary. He's not afraid at all to use his safeties and corners in the pass rush game.
Did you see that last night? So The Dolphins blitzed on 70% of defensive plays.
Which I love.
The
Why
highest
would you not?
in the NFL in like 10 years.
A rookie?
Which I get. A rookie, unprepared. Well, prepared, but not he's
full
so
preparation,
raw.
yeah.
So raw. And you could see the athleticism. You could see the toughness for sure because he got beat up.
He stayed in. He did do that.
You got to admire that at the very least. The kid went out there and laid it all on the field, I think. But they just didn't plan on him starting. He was a project that was supposed to be on the practice squad all year. It's just one of those fluke things that happen.
I think Book definitely did what he could. One big blaring thing that I noticed is I don't know if he was afraid of getting groundings or what, but
I noticed
he was very willingly taking sacks constantly. And I hate to see that. Like you said, he's a project. I'm not saying like he's done already because of that.
I think
but
he was told to be
like
conservative. Don't don't throw the game out of reach for us.
And the Dolphins defense lights out, but their offense, again, another week in a row where I was kind of building some confidence in Tua in that offense in general. But then now this is the second week in a row trending down where I saw Tua make some throws, but I also saw him miss some really easy ones. I understand now why he has such a high completion rate because he'll throw 5 or 6 checkdowns and then throw one downfield and miss it.
The checkdown master.
Which
and then you hit the flea flicker.
When you got guys like Gesicki and Waddle, how can you not be the checkdown master? I would too. I don't blame him, but good win by the Dolphins, but they just make me nervous. I think
still got to go out there and win it.
They got to prove it against a good team, which I haven't really seen.
If the Saints had a full plethora of quarterbacks, I think that would have been a good win for them.
Oh, definitely.
But it's hard to mark that as a good win when, I mean, again, no offense to Ian Book.
When all you had to do was score more than 3 points.
Right, yeah. And, I mean, so obviously Kamara was shut down because that's the only, superstar player right now on the offense. So he was shut down. They were able to just target him. It was just a bad deal for the Saints. It is kind of what it is. That's just the way it is this year. And I think that the way that this is all going and the way that a lot of these COVID cases causing players to miss, that they won't test next year. Because a lot of them are asymptomatic.
Well, because especially by next
90% of these high, because whatever, they had like 140 positives yesterday, 90% are asymptomatic. So they're starting to realize, like, if you're asymptomatic, that it doesn't spread, like, that you're fine, like, it's not as big of a deal that we once thought it was. So I bet next year they don't even test.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And then if you report symptoms, then they test you. It's more like a self-reporting test system. I imagine. I have no idea. That's just my hypothesis on next season. Because we've had some bad quarterback play because of it.
Yeah,
and the NFL does not like it.
I could definitely.
They want their money and they want their entertainment. And look, again, no offense to Ian, but that wasn't that entertaining last night.
No, it was not. It was not much of a game
it was
to
almost
watch.
kind of, I don't want to say pitiful, but like
the only great thing to watch in that game, really, in my opinion, was the way the Dolphins played defense because I love the way they did it.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you could tell Flores was just like
having fun.
He knew.
With it, yeah.
He knew. He's like, this kid's not ready.
No.
The game did look way too fast for him.
Yeah.
And that's just what it was. The game was way too fast for him.
Yep. But moving on, Lions heading to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, and sadly not being able to pick up a win. We were all in on the Lions, and I thought against Atlanta they had it for sure. But as Callan just mentioned with the whole quarterback stuff, they're already a poor beat-up team without their starting quarterback now. They had to play Tim Boyle all game. And I didn't get to watch any of this game, so I'm not going to do much breakdown of it. But what I saw for the situation he was in, Tim Boyle didn't even play.
Yeah, right. He had a chance to win the game.
And
he threw a pick in the red zone. To go ahead.
I did see that. So that was bad.
He had a chance.
That's one of the only plays I saw. He threw that thing straight.
Oh yeah, he did.
He did.
It was a bad throw, but you can say he had a chance. Tim Boyle laser show. He's gonna get one. It'll probably be against the Packers, but he's going to get one.
Probably won't. No, but one big highlight of that game that I really like to see, Amon-Ra St. Brown with another great game. I want to say 95 or 97 yards and a touchdown.
90-some yards, 8 or 9 catches.
Kid, I mean, these 2020 and 2021 receiving classes go so deep that you can say this about most of the people on these rosters anymore. But that kid might be a late-round steal for the Lions, especially if they can get a real offense going next year. I don't think Jared Goff stays around till next year, so if he can maybe get a good quarterback next year and have a healthy Swift.
Look for the Lions to be the first team that drafts a quarterback this year.
I could definitely see that.
Surprise.
Or another team that might target Minshew in the offseason. I wouldn't mind seeing that either.
Oh, I don't want
I don't want to see
I don't even want to think about the Mississippi mudflap in the north, man. Come on. I like being the king of the north here. I'm not bringing that crazy SOB in here to take my crown.
I don't want to see it, but I could see it. But, yeah, like I just said, I don't have much to say because I didn't get to see this game. Seems like Atlanta played well. Kyle Pitts had over 100 yards, so that's cool to see.
Pitts had another breakout game. So.
But, yeah, seemed like a great win for the Falcons.
Another good win for Atlanta.
Kind of a useless win because they're just barely in the playoff race at all, if at all anymore. But still good to pick up wins at home.
Yep. That entertained the fans.
Yep, exactly. Next up, we had the Jags heading to New York to take on the Jets, and this was the battle of the first 2 overall draft picks. And Zach Wilson came out on top. In fact,
I'm sorry. He has evolved. I know I've called him Kyle Wilson. It's like Kyle Wilson. It's like the Chris Paul. But he's actually Zach Wilson, the kid from BYU. This week, he was Vic Wilson. Because did you know Vic Wilson hit 21.2 mile per hour on that run?
No, he did not.
He did not. But boy, he sure was shifty like that.
He was good. 3 rushes, I want to say. I think he only had 3 rush attempts, but 97 yards and a touchdown.
Each 3 were very entertaining to watch. And he looked like Vic out there. He was shifting around, dancing, stopping, going.
He had that 52 or 53-yard touchdown.
He had a 50-yard run.
That was beautiful.
It was fun to watch.
He looked like a running back out there. And, I mean, he didn't have too shabby of a day over the air, too. I don't remember exact stats, but I don't think he had a pick, and I want to say he had a throwing. He did have a passing touchdown, at least one, because he threw into a lineman. So that was
200-some yards.
So
he had a very good game. They said this is the game that they could use where he pivots here, or
he gets that confidence,
really gets that confidence and starts to trend upward.
It's not like the Jags defense is anything crazy good, but I mean they got some pretty good players, including Josh Allen.
I will say Josh Allen was out.
Oh, was he?
I
didn't know that.
He also had COVID because everybody has COVID because it's a virus.
But still, whether you're facing
not a health show.
Whether you're facing a bad defense or not, sometimes that's just the confidence boost you need. Like, of course, nothing's going to happen with him this season because he's got 2 more games and then it's over. But riding some confidence into next season might be
that's still a lot of growing for him to do. And, you just got to look at it like that as games to grow.
And as for the Jags side of the ball, they just didn't play well. I mean, they have... We're talking about Zach Wilson has some growing. They have growing.
That whole team has growing to do. And unfortunately, the most unfortunate part is their best player, James Robinson, blew out his Achilles on a non-contact injury. So he might miss next season because it's so late. Which is just terrible because he was a really good player. Great story. I hope the best for him. I hope he comes back just as strong.
I mean, now that that's what Meyer was doing. He was protecting Robinson.
He was protecting James Robinson.
Urban Meyer can see the future. He knew James Robinson was going to do that. We all gave him all this crap for playing hide because he's an Ohio State guy.
So did he know that girl is his future wife? Or
yeah, exactly. He can see the future. We've been giving Meyer all this crap. He actually knows what's going on. Exactly. He can see the future. He knew exactly that was going to happen. Everything Urban Meyer has done has been fully planned, and we're giving him all this crap when he's really just ahead of all of us. Who knew it?
He just wants the USC job, the Notre Dame job.
The Notre Dame job.
Yeah.
Well, now they might as well bring him back for a few games since they got Carlos Hyde in the backfield.
No, Notre Dame ended up going in-house promoting Marcus Freeman.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. That's good.
Really highly touted college coach. I know, kind of off topic, but
So, pretty much Urban Meyer's just out
Urban
of a job
Meyer's
now.
just out of a job now.
Which, I mean,
Urban
after-
Meyer took the NFL job and then missed out on his dream job because he took the NFL job and made himself look so bad that he can't even
So
redeem
bad.
himself.
What a freaking tragedy, my
It's
God.
too bad. It's too bad.
But moving on past that sad note.
Yes.
Next up, we got the Chargers, who went to Houston to take on the Texans and got absolutely dominated by the Texans. DM3, he had like 254 and a few touchdowns, I want to say. The Houston defense showed up against that Chargers
They
defense.
did.
I want to say they had 2 or 3 turnovers, one being a pick six.
Yep.
My God,
Number of sacks.
it was a blowout.
It almost
really
pretty much was.
It
From
was
beginning to end.
insane.
Houston looked like they were in control of that game. And it's very unfortunate for me. I'm shaking my head because the Chargers were a catalyst in a number of my parlays. And they were just wiped out real early. I went against my own rule. I bet on the West Coast team coming to the Midwest. I know Midwest, not the East Coast, but still they came and they played a noon game. And the West Coast team finally let down. And it's the week that I picked them for most of my parlays.
It's because it's a dumbass rule I've been telling you all year.
I know it is, but look at here it is.
No,
you
but-
don't trust the team coming from the West Coast to play the noon game.
It's so funny. I've heard it so many times. I never really realized it till I truly sat down and watched them a lot this season. But I've been told for the past few years that the Chargers are the Vikings of the AFC, and I always just kind of laughed it off. Haha. But now that I've actually got to sit down and kind of study them and watch them more than usual this season, they are the Vikings of the AFC. It is so funny.
It's their one letdown game.
It's the one letdown game of the year, and there's really just not much to say about it. The Texans just played well and dominated.
Probably the
them.
best game Texans have played all year. They just put together a complete
by
game.
far, and without Brandon Cooks.
And without Cooks.
Probably the best player on their offense.
It was
for
all
being done.
DM3. And
DM3 and Rex
And
Burkhead.
now the Tyrod prophecy, maybe they're, I don't know.
Keep an eye on that. I'm interested to see what they do this offseason. Keep that Tyrod prophecy
We'll see.
in
They
mind.
look good this week.
And then finally, before we get to our quick kicks, we have the Bears, who went to Seattle to take on the Seahawks and picked up a late game thriller of a win. I mean, the Seahawks kind of had that in hand all game. And then towards the end, the Bears were just like, nah, we're going to score here and go for 2 and get it. So you guys are just done.
Hey, Big Dick Nick showing he's got big balls too. I mean, and really, what have the Bears got to lose? Might as well. Why go to overtime? Just
What's the
get
point?
this thing figured out, you know. But yeah, a solid win for them, and another nice game for Fields.
And first big...
I'm sorry, not Fields, for Foles.
Big first snow game of the season. So
Yeah,
it actually...
in Seattle.
Didn't get to watch a ton of it, but it seemed like a pretty entertaining game overall, so it might be worth a rewatch if you didn't see any of it. So now we'll jump into our quick kicks. First up, we got the Giants, who went to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, and the Giants continue to prove that they have zero offense to be shown for, even with Fromm playing.
Yeah.
And, well, the Eagles have a good defense, and then the Eagles continue to prove that they got a pretty damn good offense. It took them a while to get started. I think it was like 3-3 at half, but then Eagles really picked it up in the second half.
Yep, Eagles ended up blowing them out, and they put Jake Fromm in, and nothing was really different. So they just went back to Glennon. That's all I know about how that game went for the Giants.
I'm not going to go on about it because I talk about it every week, but the Giants' offense is such an anomaly. I just don't get it.
Too bad, yeah.
Next up, we got another divisional matchup with the Ravens heading to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. And the Bengals, for the second time this year, pretty well blowing them out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Joe Burrow with over 500, I want to say 525 yards and 4
5
touchdowns.
5 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns. The last one got called back.
Oh,
it was going to be
That's
5.
right. That's
but
right.
then-
That's right. Yeah.
But still, I mean, 4 or 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a game. And that Ravens team, they're going to get themselves kicked out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of unlucky with Lamar getting hurt, that ankle injury, but
depending
they might
on what,
slip out of the
what the
playoffs.
rest of the AFC does, yeah, they could. And Baltimore could go from
they were
being
like
a
pushing
lock
first seed
to,
at one point.
yeah,
Yeah.
to being not even making the tournament. So
Crazy. Yet another divisional matchup that was a blowout. The Bucks heading to Carolina and taking out the Panthers handily. The Panthers only putting up 6 points. And you talk about every week, they just need to not play Cam Newton. It's clearly not what that offense
Unfortunately,
needs.
they played Darnold, and his first throw was like a 60-yard touchdown.
Darnold did get in?
He did get to play.
That's
he didn't
good.
play great. He had that good play. He was like 14 and 29.
Yeah.
But he just looked like the more comfortable quarterback.
Well, he just looked more like a quarterback.
quarterback.
not
And
a running
again,
back.
Cam Newton's a great red zone goal line piece. Fantastic. I would love to have that down there in the red zone. But he shouldn't be starting and playing that whole game.
I
He
completely
just shouldn't
agree.
be. He's at this point in his career, he's a piece instead of a star.
Yep. Next up, we got the Steelers heading to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs, and the Chiefs winning in a blowout. Absolutely dominated the Steelers. It was almost sad to watch because, I mean, the Steelers just looked like they didn't know what they were doing out there. Najee picked it up in garbage time, but they held Najee to like 10 yards, I swear to God.
Yeah,
before
he
they
ended up
started.
with 90, but
Yeah.
it was all mostly in garbage time.
Just not much to say or watch in that game. It
And
was a blowout.
I gotta just say real quick, all right? Look, the Chiefs, they're the first team in the AFC to clinch the playoff spot, to clinch their division. They've turned it around. They're back to being a good team.
Hey, you finally did
They're
it.
back to being a good team. I don't know why they waited till now to do it, or, halfway through the season, but I'll admit it. They have shown me that they have given up, or at least gotten away from, the schoolyard bullshit and are running a much more NFL-style offense.
They're like the Vikings. He's got to build some suspense every week.
Yeah, right?
And then finally, for our quick kicks, another divisional blowout with the football team heading to Dallas to take on the Cowboys, and just looking like they might as well have stayed in Washington.
Yep.
Because there wasn't even really much garbage time in this game. From start to finish, it was just domination by the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all there was.
Yeah, poor Washington couldn't do anything.
Not
They
at
didn't get
all.
anything going. That Dallas defense just swarmed them. Trayvon Diggs had another pick. And Dak is the first player in NFL history to have a touchdown to a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, and an offensive lineman. So, that's just an interesting little tidbit.
I was going to say,
So,
what a game.
Yep.
Can't complain about that at all. So that was our NFL Week 16 recap. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, don't forget
To eat the W.